S.A.F.E stands for Seniors Against Financial Exploitation. This was created to help seniors and their loved ones help protect themselves against scams, fraudulent people, con artists. TV series will hopefully you can all learn something on how to protect yourselves against this. Hi, I'm Peter Janowsky of the Ryan and Janowsky Financial Strategies Group, and this is another episode of Project S.A.F.E, Seniors Against Financial Exploitation. This is one of a few episodes we're going to have with different guests, and today's guest is Wendy Weiss. Wendy, it's so nice to have you here today. We have spoken so many times back and forth, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions today. But first, I want to hear how and why you got started in your business. And please tell me the name of your business.
Sure. Peter, first of all, thank you for having me. The name of my company is TechTime, and we teach individuals, businesses, and classes how to use the everyday use of technology. So anywhere from your iPhone, your iPad, your computer, your Mac, applications, how to surf the web, how to use filed in folders, stay in touch with loved ones, using social media, sending photos. And it's just so important these days because technology is the way we are going.
Plus, obviously, when it's directed towards seniors, when we're talking about seniors and scams and frauds and exploitation, it's getting heavy. In fact, I read some place recently that during COVID, fraud in general towards seniors was up maybe about 40%, which is absolutely crazy. So again, let me see, how did you get started in this?
So just to tell you a little about myself, I started out in the world of financial services. I worked on Wall Street for over 20 years in a business development role selling data. And unfortunately, on a personal level, I had some life-changing events. My husband became ill, and he passed away in 2017, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was always thinking about starting a business, and what had happened was my parents had friends. Their kids brought them up from Florida and put them in an assisted living, and they gave them an iPad, and they had no idea how to use it. And they asked me to help them, educate them on the iPad. And really, that's how it began. And one of my girlfriends, I told her my idea about teaching seniors how to use their devices, their iPhone, their iPad. And she said, get business cards made up. Go to Vistaprint, go online to Vistaprint and get business cards made up. And next thing you know, she started handing them out to her clients, and my phone was ringing off the hook. Help me use my iPad, my iPhone, help me shop online. I need to go to Amazon, I need to go to Nordstrom's, Target, and I need to learn how to use FaceTime and Zoom. And that's how it all began.
And this did evolve into protecting seniors as well. And I'm assuming along the lines you may not just be working with seniors, but also their families or their caregivers. And I remember one time you were telling me where you would actually, after a bad event, maybe sit down with someone and get all their information together, going with passwords, everything.
Yes. So what I do also is work with seniors and compile their information. So as we're all on the internet and doing online banking and shopping, we're accumulating user IDs and passwords. And we have so many of them, and we need to keep track of that data and information on each individual. So I create a spreadsheet of basically all of your personal information, so consisting of user IDs, passwords, your insurance information. So if you have auto insurance, health insurance, life insurance, long-term care, your credit cards, who's your attorney, who's your executor, your accountant, and that's documented, all in an Excel spreadsheet, password protected. I back it up on a USB, and I give it to the next of kin, a loved one. It's incorporated as part of the will, but it's not a legal document. It's just put in a safe place. So another loved one has this information to get online and find out where everything is.
Yeah, that's something that I'm going to talk about that John and I have talked about many times the last year or two, is something called the trusted contact, that everybody should have one. So I'm assuming as you go through this process with your clients, hopefully there's someone in their lives that they could count on as a trusted contact where they would get access to all this as well. So I just have a quick question. Going back to, you said putting everything on an Excel spreadsheet. Do you actually teach people how to use Excel as well?
I do.
That could be, Excel's very powerful.
Excel is it's a database. It's a really powerful tool. I teach all of the Microsoft Office applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the Google Drives, Sheets, and the equivalent to Excel. Pages, all apps.
And of course, the more knowledge someone has and the more fluid they are and with ease of use, it helps them gain security.
Correct.
And helps prevent fraud and exploitation. Because people don't realize that sometimes being exploited is not always a criminal act. So unfortunately, it could be someone close to them, siphoning money, whatever it is. So let's get into some of the mechanics, because I have questions about how you actually teach people how to protect themselves from all the typical scams out there, which are never ending, and they're going to stay here.
Right.
So what are the most common scams that you find that people have to look out for?
So first of all, you're on email, okay? Everybody gets emails. And these days, there are attachments within emails, and the sender of these emails want you to click on a link, okay? And you have to be really careful. You need to look at that email address specifically. You could just hover over the email with your mouse on your computer or with your finger on your iPhone and see that it's a legitimate email. So for example, if you do any kind of banking, make sure it says from chase.com or from citibank.com. Sometimes they add additional numbers and letters and a different extension. So you need to look at that email address. Do not click on any suspicious links. Make sure you know who that person is. That's my one suggestion.
And I know emails are becoming more prominent than ever. Like, for example, my business is going electronic. We're going into a paperless society. So it's paramount that people are careful, but I could also understand they may miss something once in a while. Sometimes it can be a little too apparent. I'm not going to click it. I'm too scared. And unfortunately, this is where we are.
Right.
I don't know if there's any way getting around that. People have to open up the emails to get information these days. But if there's some kind of to look for, is there any way of like filtering out emails? You know what I'm saying? Like if it's just like right off the bat, like how to mark something it's going to go to junk if you know it's a scam.
You can filter out with certain letters, and there is a way to filter out.
So if you're going to sit down with someone, you'd be able to show them how to filter out.
Right. Correct.
All right. And I'd like to bring it back for a second. It's perfectly okay for you to sit down with someone who knows nothing. So let's say somebody doesn't even own a computer yet, because I'm assuming with the changes of life and somebody losing a loved one or losing their significant other, and if that significant other was the one who wrote the checks and knew where everything was, you'd be able to sit down from scratch and be patient with them and go through everything. It's perfectly okay for someone to call you knowing nothing.
Totally, and many of my clients are in that situation. I'm sure like you. In a relationship, usually we all have our roles, and somebody always took care of the finances, while somebody else maybe took care of the kids. But it's so important that you speak to one another and share information when you're alive.
Well, that's part of planning. That's something John and I preach over and over, and it's on my website almost every month. It always has something to do with planning, and that's a choice. Like he always used to say, everybody has a choice. Choosing to do nothing is a choice, but it's usually a poor one.
Right.
But how many times we put it off, and this is something just like just like looking into life insurance or doing long-term care planning, any kind of long-term planning in general, people put it off. It's not something they want to deal with. They
I know.
deal with the inevitable.
It's not a conversation.
No, it's not a fun one.
Right.
But anyway, let's go back to the technical parts of the scams. What have you witnessed? I'm sure you've seen people get scammed. Like.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, again, people trusting people, and this isn't even on the computer. It's a phone call. We're getting so many robocalls these days. People are answering the phone. They're claiming they're from the IRS or Social Security, and they tell them that their Social Security number has been hijacked, and people, right away will give out this information. And never, ever give this information out. Do not give your Social Security number out. Do not give credit card numbers out. Just don't give this personal information.
Yeah.
If you do get a name of this individual, you could say, what's your name? I'll call you back. Give me your phone number, and hang up. And you could always Google this person and the phone number, and you'll see when you Google this, there are people out there reporting this information, that this number that this person gave you, it's a scam. Don't fall into this.
That's a great point. I never really thought about that. A lot of seniors are becoming more and more acclimated with technology. And I never thought about that, where you could say, if it's really that important, even if it sounds half right and they don't want to miss something, you're right, I'll call you back, give me your name and information. Obviously, if they hang up, it's a clear scam. And we've been saying this for years now, several years, just nothing gets done over the phone. It's just, it's typical. What are some of the other typical scams? And again, I think they keep happening because they work.
Right.
It's going, if it didn't work, it wouldn't occur.
Right.
And if someone's making 1,000 calls a week, and if they get one person's information and they're able to scam them, then it's a success for them, unfortunately.
Right.
But what are some of the other types of scams?
So there's social media scams. So you really have to be careful. If you're on Facebook, and you go on vacation, I know we're all guilty of it. We like posting photos of where we are. If we're in the Caribbean, these hackers, get our information from our social media accounts, and they see that possibly you're away on a vacation. Your house is a target for a burglary, a robbery. So try not to post those vacation photos as much as you want to.
Yeah. I get that little piece of personal information. My wife works for the Nassau County DA's office, and which is fine. I can, people know that, but I'm constantly being told not to, just don't give out information. There's no reason to post anything. There's no why let people know where you are and what's going on. So going back to the technical part, what is phishing exactly? I've heard many things about phishing scams and like also going back to, I think phishing is almost a part of the social media thing, where if you answer surveys and stuff, they get in your name.
Yeah, so basically it's an attack that attempts to steal your money, your identity, by you revealing personal information, such as credit card numbers, bank information, passwords. Basically, they want you to click on a link on a fake message in a website. And basically, they could take over your computer. And if you have all your information on your computer, you're kind of doomed. And if you keep passwords, which I assume a lot of people do on their computer, they save them. Right away, you need to get in touch with your financial institutions and report this hack.
Passwords. What's the best way to store passwords?
So personally, I keep a list of passwords on my computer in an Excel spreadsheet, but again, it's password protected, and then every month I back it up to a USB. I do not keep it in the cloud. There are password managers out there, which many people use, but I just don't like keeping a lot of that information in the cloud. I rather keep it local and then print it out as a document.
Everybody's heard the cloud. Most of us know what the cloud is. some of us don't. So just the cloud, I get the cloud. A lot of viewers may not know what the cloud is.
Right. So basically it's a backup of all your data on your computer, your iPhone, your iPad. So most people, if they have an Apple device, if you go to apple.com, you go into the cloud, you have a user ID and a password, and that's where your photos, your texts, possible emails are stored. So that's the cloud. So that's as a backup. So if you purchase a new phone, they take all the data from the cloud and they move it to your new phone.
And you're suggesting not to save passwords in the cloud?
I would suggest that, correct.
So as far as passwords go, many times if I'm going to a website, it could be through work, shopping, whatever I'm doing, I'll have an option to check a box and remember me, and my password's auto-filled, my bank account, whatever it may be.
Right.
Is that safe enough to do?
So regarding your bank accounts, I would never save a password. Number one.
So no, I mean, so like save it on the website.
Right.
It says, have the option where it pops up on the screen and says, remember me.
Right.
Do not do that.
Do not do that. You could remember your username, but do not remember your password.
Okay.
I just like entering my password on my own. Also, when you get an email from your bank informing you that your statement is available, click the link here. I suggest coming out of your email and going directly to the bank's website and retrieving your statement that way. Just as a precaution, just making sure that it's a legit email. The other day I received an email from Citibank that one of my accounts was overdrawn. I'm not a banker at Citibank. I don't have an account there.
Right. I get those too. And recently, this is the most, I'm hoping it was coincidental, because I'm starting to get a lot of tech scams, and to buy certain things. And so my younger daughter is in the process of buying a new iPhone. And I'm saying several days after she started the process, I get a text that appears to be from Apple, and it says you owe another $1.37, otherwise we can't complete the transaction. So of course, just to humor my family, because I knew what it was, I copied the text and sent it to the kids, and of course they're yelling at me, it's a scam, leave it alone, it's a scam, leave it alone. But how many people fall vulnerable to that? It's $1.37 saying, well, it's no big deal, let me click on to that.
Totally.
I can't believe how it's coming on the tech, on the tech side, text part of it as well.
Yeah, and again, like you said, you really have to be careful, and you could block those texts. As well. There's a feature, again, within your iPhone where you go into that text and you click on the info button and a whole nother screen comes up, and you could say block this contact. Block it and then delete it. Get rid of it.
What other scams are prevalent? I know there's the typical romance and grandparent scams. And as far as that goes, anything else we should know about that we don't already know?
Yeah, so again, the romance scam, if you're on a dating website, you might have some cyber criminals coming after you just to get your information, maybe to send them money. You're vulnerable. You're looking for...
Almost like an extortion situation.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Grandparent scams, you have to be careful. Somebody will make a call to a person saying that this is Tommy, your grandson, or Teresa, your granddaughter. There's been a terrible accident. I need money. And people fall for this. And this scammer sometimes throws the family's other relatives in there, and they scare you, and you're frightened, and you don't know how to react to this. So try to remain calm and try to ask questions. Ask, what's Tommy's last name? What's Tommy's pet name? Try to throw the potential scammer off. And you could always say, give me a couple minutes, can you call me back? And then you could go and call your grandson or granddaughter on her or his cell phone and say, are you okay? I just want to make sure that you're okay, because I got a call from
of course.
and hopefully they are okay. And that was a scam.
Have you been able to help people who have already been scammed? You know what I'm saying? If somebody's security has been breached, what's the fix?
So there's a couple of fixes. First of all, you have to be diligent on everything. For example, I have a landline. I hardly use my landline. I only get robocalls on that landline. Everybody who needs to get in touch with me calls me on my cell phone. So I don't even pick up my landline anymore. I let everything go to voicemail. I do listen to the voicemails, and they're all robocalls. So
I got rid of my landline too. There was only 2 people that were calling me on my landline, and after 6 months, they figured out how to call me on my cell phone. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you are part of fraud, you should get in touch with the Federal Trade Commission, and they have a website where you could report the fraud, and it's reportfraud.ftc.gov, and it asks you all these questions. You know, how were you attacked? You know, was it via social media? Was it a phone call? Was it somebody from the IRS? Also, there's a phone number you could call. It's 877-438-4338, and again, that's to report it to the Federal Trade Commission.
What's the number again? I'm sorry.
Sure, it's 877-438-4338.
So anything you get involved with is you're suggesting, like with getting scammed on the tech side of things, is to call the Federal Trade Commission. Should they also call local police, you think, or?
So I think if it happens, like immediately, absolutely call the police.
Right. Yeah, I think we've had from other people we brought on the show and on some of the presentations we've done. I think that's what they're saying is there's no special department in the state, county, just call the police directly for the typical scams. But I never thought of that. I never thought of calling the Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting piece of information.
They have a whole website of how you report things. And then they also have that block caller phone line.
Okay.
I don't know the number offhand, but you could put your landline, on that block caller. And hopefully...
I think you could do it for cell phones now, too. I know what you're talking about, like a do not call list.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was prevalent in my industry. When back in the day when people in my industry used to cold call, I don't know when it came out. The do not call list came out, I think, maybe...
Years ago.
Many years, over 15 years ago. And you had to... If you were a legitimate business just soliciting, you had to go through a filtration system to see who was and who was not on the do not call list. And if you did call someone on the do not call list, the fines were heavy. I remember that.
Exactly.
That was completely. It did its job because no one calls anymore.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Right.
I had a whole list of questions, but there are so many scams out there. Are there actually sweepstakes and lottery scams?
There are. I mean, people. Again, you get a phone call, and people tell you that you've won a sweepstakes. Could you please provide your personal information? And again, do not give it. You could ask them about the sweepstakes and what their name and number is, and hang up and Google it. It's just.
Right.
If it's too good to be true,
it's not true.
Exactly.
Right. And in fact, we used to talk about that in my industry, where we would talk to people, and during our presentations, whether live or the TV show here, even when someone's selecting a financial advisor or any professional, if something's too good to be true, if somebody, if interest rates if the 10-year government bond is 1.5%.
Right.
And someone's showing something, it's very safe, and it's it's going to yield 12%. It's a red flag. It's too good to be true.
Right.
Same thing with these scams.
Yeah. I get a number of my clients call me up and they say that they got an email from Amazon that there was a purchase on their account. They just want to make them aware of it. Click on this link again, and always call Amazon. If you just Google Amazon, you get their customer support number, and you could verify that there's not any kind of fraud on your account.
So actually, I've got a great question. Going back to your business and how you help people, I'm assuming there may be a situation where people, it's not a one-time thing, where you have a client and they might rely on you for years. As technology changes, they may have questions. I mean, I'm assuming,
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it's wonderful as we all grow old to learn something new every day. That's one of my goals, and I have many clients who just want to learn. Some of my clients, I have a client who's 85 years old. He was a doctor in his early years, and he only wants to learn about the iPhone, how it's used. They use WhatsApp. They have family in Europe. They have weekly Zoom calls, and they just want to learn and stay in touch and text and take photos and send photos and share and be able to communicate with their grandchildren by texting them. So I meet with them on a weekly basis.
Oh, I had no idea. That's tremendous. So it's like a tutor.
Yeah, I have
a regular tutor coming to the house. That's
exactly.
And how has COVID affected that? Are you able to do any of these things remote?
So COVID actually was a good year, or no, 2 years. I'm able to use my Mac, and basically by sending a Zoom link, I could take over somebody's computer and continue training seamlessly. I could also image my iPhone, and people could follow along with me. So I do a lot of presentations remotely.
That's fantastic. And something I was saying before, that doing nothing is a choice, and it's usually a poor choice. And both of us, through personal life and business, have experienced people's life's changes. And many of them are drastic, usually losing a significant other, losing a family member in some capacity. And it's very hard to move forward after that emotionally.
Yes.
I get it. However, I'm a very big advocate on being productive. Even if you have to chip away and take baby steps. And I can't think of a better person than you to come into someone's house and start this, because really everything's technology driven these days. It really is. The paper, like I was saying before, things are going paperless. There's a definitive need for your services, for your knowledge, and hopefully this show will help expose more of what you do, and continue to spread the word. We just have about a minute and a half left, so I don't want to run out of time. What is the best way to get in touch with you? So
a number of ways. I have a website, techtimetutor.com. My email address is info@techtimetutor.com. I have a Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram.
All over the place.
I'm all over.
Okay. So also, just a reminder to everybody, at the end of the show, everything will be posted, how to get in touch with you, how to get in touch with me. And as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say, like a couple of notes that people must-dos, any must-dos?
What I would say is basically when you create, when you get a phone, when you have a computer, always have a password on it. Number one, that's so important. When you're out and about, try not to use the internet too often, because you're in unsecured environments. Don't log on to any personal accounts in unsecured environments, meaning Wi-Fi. And just be diligent and smart about everything.
Prudent. Very good. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the show with what my dearest late friend and partner used to say: may the hand of a friend always be near, whether you need it or not. And once again, I'm Peter Janowsky from Ryan and Janowsky Financial Strategies Group, and thanks for being with us today.